All right, good morning. This is Scott and Dave at That Auto Show, and we're here again in the morning to talk about cars and car talk. And the way you can find us is at our Facebook page and also at our webpage, thatautoshop.com, and on Twitter at That Auto
That
Shop.
Auto Shop.
Everything,
And you can just call us on the phone if you need car repair, automotive repair at 301 660 6729, and we're here between 8 and 5 every weekday.
That's right. All right, so we always start the show with a little bit of a news brief or just a topic of the day.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're going to continue on from yesterday's topic, which was on the self-driving car, and I really got started on a topic there. I went on a rant for a little bit.
And we have naturally been playing good cop, bad cop on this whole self-driving car thing. And I think slowly I am kind of drifting into liking this thing a little more. I'm still not convinced, it takes me a long time, but I like it, and I'm looking into it. I'm excited about it. So and it posts great questions for a show like this.
Well, so. You sent me a link to an article, and that's what we're going to talk about this morning, that discussed on the morality of how how the car should be programmed to avoid certain scenarios, and so one of the scenarios that the article poses is a car driving down a street comes around a corner abruptly at a rate of speed that is unavoidable to hit a crowd that happens to be in the street at the moment. And so should the car, and on each side of the street are two brick walls, should the car recognize that there's multiple people at risk for death and injury versus you, only one or two passengers in the car, and should it run it into the wall, likely killing or injuring you severely, or should it just protect the driver and plow right into the crowd, potentially killing more people? And so this is a real potential scenario that will happen, right?
Yeah, and I do believe that it will happen at some point. And I didn't like their example, because the Google car up to this point, has the capability to be able to avoid that type of scenario. So they have gone as far to be able to avoid the type of scenario that was in that article.
Right.
But there is another one that I could think of, and that would be like a causeway collapse, or something where, there was a piece of infrastructure that fell apart. Or like, let's say a walking bridge or something like that, where it's totally unavoidable. Someone fell 20 feet or 10 people fell 20 feet onto the road right in front of the car. So there you have your scenario where, that's totally possible to happen. It's happened before in this country, and it will happen again. And any car would not be able to, avoid that type of scenario.
Yeah, and that's a really, really unusual scenario, but I think the point is that there are scenarios that we haven't conceived of that will bring up a moral question of how the car should be programmed, right? And so it doesn't matter what the scenario is necessarily, it's going to happen though.
Yeah.
And the computer is going to have a choice to make. It's going to protect the driver or not. It's going to ram into somebody else, or it's going to protect,
Or it's going to ram
into something
into the
wall, or a ditch, or off a bridge, or into a river, or into the lake, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's going to have these choices to protect the driver or not protect the driver.
Yeah.
And maybe harm somebody else instead. And so what do you do in that scenario? That's what we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, man. This is you have to buy one of these cars, so you are a consumer. Do you want to buy a product that's biased to kill you before we kill somebody else?
Yeah.
Now,
no, I don't. I mean, I'm buying the car,
if you're
right?
being truthful.
No, I mean, I'm just being honest. My gut reaction is no. I've got kids in the car. I've got my wife, and even if it's just me.
And you have paid all this money
to buy a car that's smart enough to protect me.
And they have not.
And they haven't, right?
Or maybe they're just not driving it right now.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side to it where, should the car be able to distinguish what the greater good is?
Yeah.
And to to lessen the amount of human lives that are lost.
Yeah.
And that is a major question as well.
Yeah.
Because in that scenario, 10 people versus one person, it's a sad scenario to think about. But.
Yeah, but you brought up a fascinating point, which is we all say that there's no additional value between human lives, right? Every human life matters equally, right?
No, in our society, that is what we say.
That's what we say.
That's everyone's answer.
But is it what we actually practice?
No.
No, it's not. We don't hold human lives equal.
No, we don't.
And this isn't a rant on racial rights
it's just the truth.
or anything like that. It's just we don't, as a society, we don't actually behave that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you also brought up the point, what if it's a dignitary who's leading a country, let's say, and this is an odd example that may not happen, but...
Should it be programmed differently?
Should it be programmed?
It has to happen.
Yeah, or a CEO of a large company who employs a lot of people, and a lot of people would be out of jobs if they died, right?
That person would get different programming for that car than somebody, just a normal commuter every day, ant.
Right.
Worker ant.
Right. Exactly. So I think it's a fascinating thought. I love the idea of just thinking about the potential problems that are going to arise from self-driving cars and how they should be programmed. I loved that article, and I loved reading it and thinking about the morality of programming these cars, because it's totally what they're facing. But what I hate about thinking of it is just how the politicians are going to get involved. And it's going to be a talking point in the future. It's going to be a presidential election talking point. And voting decisions are going to be made on what each candidate's position is. And it's going to get nasty, too. I mean, if you think about the way that politicians would act, towards this, it can get gross, in my opinion. I mean, you got politicians who are racist or sexist or other biases, or maybe they're, whatever bias they might have. And they're going to say, well, this car should protect this group of people because this group of people is more important, right?
Yeah.
So,
and also, you brought up a point this morning of the VIPs of our society.
Yeah.
Once all these cars drive themselves, do people that have more money get to work faster?
Do people if you have more money, should you be able to buy a car that's programmed to be able to weave through traffic quicker and more efficiently?
Or if you are somehow, in a position where you are, thought of as a very important person,
right?
Should you be able to get to work faster?
Yeah,
I mean,
should
is
you?
that a
right? Yeah,
is that valid?
If you think about all the legal repercussions and the way, so we have the National Highway Traffic and Safety and blah 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 whatever patrol that kind of oversees the roadways and the transportation industry and the safety of cars. They have to go into this whole new layer of regulation when they're going to be regulating cars programming and how they're prioritized to protect the people versus the other citizens or civilians on the road that are walking.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, is a very important person allowed to drive faster than a not a very important person, and think that the regulators have to weave through and are going to be involved in this, to me, is scary, because they can be bought and sold just like they probably already are by other industries, right? And so you're going to have even more complex layer. You're going to have the capitalist kind of thing driving the whole industry, but then you're going to have the regulators come in and say, wait, this isn't ethical, this isn't moral. You can't just ram into people crossing this crosswalk with a baby just because they, didn't obey the sign, we got to stop it. And there's going to be legitimate good reasons to have regulation. But then on the other hand, anytime there's regulation, it always gets out of hand. It always gets regulated and and taxes come around it and all that stuff. So the whole thing is interesting to think about how complex it's going to get.
Yeah. So Google, you have, done a lot of amazing things.
Yeah.
Now it's time to define the morality and ethics of humans on Earth.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what you've entered into,
right? So. And that's interesting because Google's motto for years is "do good." That's their slogan is "do good," or I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something along those lines. It's a very simple, just don't do harm to people. And so it makes you wonder, how deep have they gotten into that part of the technology, or if they just focus solely on the technology, regardless of these other moral and ethical questions that could come about. I'm sure they've thought about it because they've been working on the car for 10 years or more.
Yeah.
So but I'd love to learn more about kind of where they're at with it and other companies who are building self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love the topic, man.
Yeah, it's a really, really good topic.
Yeah.
Not only because it's really neat,
Yeah.
It just includes everything. Makes you, laugh, makes you cry. It's exciting.
All right, let's get to our questions, huh?
Okay, so this guy wrote in, I have a 350Z, that's a Nissan 350Z with slotted rotors and high performance brake pads. But I think the pads are causing some clicking noises. So I have two questions. Do I need specific pads for drilled or slotted rotors? And how much more quickly do brake pads wear with these slotted rotors typically? So first of all, I want to say that the way I would go to solve this problem is I would disassemble my brakes and reassemble them. Lube them and reassemble them. That would be the first thing I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think the clicking is caused by your slotted rotors or your pads. I mean, it may be something in the mechanism there, but I don't think it's being caused by the rotors.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but my only thought was maybe he's describing clicking as a shudder.
Or
maybe he's just using a different term.
I don't even know how. It sounds like a turbine. Okay, so I have slotted rotors on my car.
Yeah.
And they sound like a turbine.
Like a brrrr.
Yeah. When you brake hard.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no like rotor vibe or anything like that.
No.
But it's just a sound, and that's just how those.
So if he's referring to that, then that's just how they sound, right? But if he's referring to clicking,
clicking makes it sound like it's some type of pad getting stuck, maybe a backing plate, something like that.
Yeah.
I would just look at the mechanism,
mm-hmm.
And then no, there aren't like specific pads that I know of that are made for slotted. And then, do they wear more quickly? No, they do not. They act exactly like, a regular flat surface rotor, other than they dissipate heat a little better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question. Busted headlights for a Honda Accord and installation. One of my headlights no longer works, I'm assuming it's just a bulb. Are there any particular brands or model I should be buying for an 01 Honda Accord sedan? Or can I just buy any bulb that fits this model on, say, Amazon? Is it easy to install rather than going to a mechanic? Well, the answer to that question is pretty simple. Because of the year of vehicle, that's not a very special bulb. It's a very basic halogen style plug-in bulb. And you don't need an entire headlight assembly. It's just the bulb. So the answer is you can do this yourself. You may have to move the battery out of the way to get to it, and that's it depends on your comfort level with using a couple of basic tools. And if you can get a couple things out of your way, you probably need a couple basic tools. You can definitely do this yourself. And to answer your question about the bulb, you can buy that anywhere. If you want to buy it on Amazon, it doesn't matter. The only thing I would caution you is I'd recommend just getting a pair, because sometimes they sell all different types of bulbs. They all will work, but they're different levels of brightness. They're different colors even slightly.
Yeah.
And if you put one that's kind of like a whiter light and the other one is more of a yellowish light, it just looks stupid.
And I think that you actually required by law.
You can actually get pulled over.
Matching colors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got to match. So just get them in pairs. And also, anyways, when one goes out, the other one is usually right behind it, about to go out. So it's best just to get them in pairs and replace them. And so as far as if you can do it yourself, yeah, it's one of the more basic repairs on a Honda Accord. But you are going to need a couple basic tools to get into it, most likely. Sometimes you can still reach your hand. I'm not sure on that one exactly. It's been a while since I did mine. I have the same vintage Accord.
I would.
But
I would.
You would do it yourself?
Even if it took me longer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take the battery out.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way I am.
Yeah.
I mean, especially on this Honda, I know that you can do it.
You can do it without taking it out.
But it is harder.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You just did one.
Well, I did the entire assembly.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different.
Assembly.
I can't remember what it's like just to reach a bulb in there, but I know they can. All of the vehicles, no matter what it is, can be pretty tight squeeze in there to get your hand in there and get the bulb out.
Yeah. And there are some cars that it's not possible.
Yep.
Yeah, that definitely. We had a Chevy Trailblazer.
Yep, the Chevy Trailblazer.
Oh, man.
Yeah, take off the entire front grill. Yeah. Literally, the grill comes out.
Yeah.
And it's pretty absurd.
Yeah, and everything that holds the grill in is plastic and easy to break. So have fun with that.
Yeah. So I think that's it, because this last question I didn't realize just how long it was, and it is really detailed. So that might bore a lot of people. With the details. Okay.
Well, I just wanted to go.
You want to touch on it?
Just a little. So we have had in the past, people say that, oh, my check engine light isn't on, but the car won't pass emissions. And so, that is something that happens. The car is not passing its readiness tests, the way it tests itself to see if it's working right. And it never throws a code. It just won't do all of its self-tests. And that is another indication of a failure somewhere in a system. So the bad part about that is it's a system and there is a failure, but you have nothing giving you any type of direction to go. So for that one, I would bring that to a mechanic. I think it would save you a lot of time. If you want to start trying to do things on it, you could definitely learn a lot from it. And you'll definitely get good at replacing some of your systems, because you'll end up buying parts. You probably will end up buying parts you don't need. But at the same time, you could probably get it done for cheaper too, if you're mechanically inclined. If you're not mechanically inclined, I would give this to the mechanic immediately. I wouldn't try to touch it. Yeah. So, I did want to go through that. We get that question sometimes. So.
Right. Okay. All right. I think we're already out of time. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching.
Yeah.